Hi friends, this is Caly. Thanks so much for joining me today. I've created a card using the new Brilliant Butterfly stamped and die set, and we're going to create a pop-up card. So it's a nice surprise on the inside with a few pops of color where there normally wouldn't be. So I've got the stamp set here, and there are multi-layers. So because the layers are all different sizes and shapes, we're going to be die cutting first before stamping. This ensures that everything lines up perfectly. I wanted to show you my method here. This is something that I learned from Betsy Veldman. She uses a old Cricut or Silhouette sticky tacky mat. So I have one here that's clear that I've just purchased on Amazon, and I have die cut my template. So once I've die cut all the pieces that I want, I'm just going to inlay that back in, and everything sticks to that cutting mat. So now when I go to stamp, nothing moves, which is really nice when you've got lots of images here and you're worried about things moving around, and one little mistake can mess up your entire project. So it's really important that everything stays in place and doesn't move, and for some reason magnets don't work for me, so this works out great. For my butterflies today, I am sticking with the same color family. So on these pink ones, I've stamped with Cotton Candy MFT dye ink, and then I'm going in with a darker color to add shading by just dabbing some color at the ends of the wings. I've done that with the purple and with the teal butterflies, and now I'm just going to go back in with a lighter color to stamp the bottoms. And then finally, to stamp that ornate outline on these butterflies, I'm going to be using the darkest color that I added the shading with on the larger wings on the outside there with my sponge dauber. For the butterflies' bodies, I'm just going to simply stamp them in black, and once I'm done, I can just peel them off the sticky cutting mat that I've cut to fit my Misty. Then I can peel away that negative, and you can save that if you want to, but I don't need it anymore, so I'm just going to toss it. It comes with a piece of acetate to cover the sticky, so I'm just going to replace that carrier and then stick it in the back of my Misty and then use it again when I need it, so it's super handy. Alright, so now to decorate my card panel, I've die cut the Grande Greenery outline die. I've die cut it with a light green cardstock, but I decided I wanted to add a little bit more color to it, so I'm just using my G46 Copic marker and just adding flicks of color at the ends of each petal. And after doing that, I'll go ahead and do that to my smaller stems as well. And then for my card, I'm going to add some color by ink blending some blue raspberry ink to my card panel just to give it some color underneath those petals and leaves. I'm using a blender brush and just applying the ink in circular motion back and forth until I am happy with how concentrated the color is on my card panel. Once I'm done ink blending, I'm just going to lay my Grande Greenery outline pieces over that ink blended area. I knew that it was going to sit in a curved manner, and that's why I ink blended that way. I've laid it out and just to make sure that I have placement just right, and now I'm going to add a little piece of double-sided adhesive to my card where I know the butterfly is going to sit. Now that's going to be an anchor for my leaves, so I am just laying it over that adhesive, and everything will stick right there where I want it to be before I decide to stick my butterfly over the entire thing. So for the butterfly, I'm going to add a piece of double-sided foam adhesive on it just to give it a little bit more dimension over all those layers of Grande Greenery. I like the bounce and dimension of these leaves, but if you want it to be more secure, you can always add a few drops of adhesive on the back side just to secure it to your card a little bit better. I did end up doing that closer to the bottom of the leaves. I like the top to be a little bit flappy. Alright, so now the final part of the card front will be to add a sentiment. I stamped a sentiment from the Essential Sentiments stamp set, and now we're just going to emboss it with white over black cardstock. After heat setting my sentiment, I'm just going to trim it in my tonic guillotine trimmer and then cut it down to size before adhering it to my card using a little bit of foam adhesive as well as liquid adhesive because I want it to somewhat sit on top of my butterfly at the bottom there. After adding that adhesive, I'm going to use my handy dandy T ruler to make sure that everything lines up straight. So after that's done, I'm just going to adhere it to a card base. I've already trimmed my card panel to mat my card base, so I'm just adding adhesive and then mounting that to a side folding card base so that I can add a pop-up element on the inside. Okay, so now for the really fun part, we're going to take the 3 butterflies in the pink, purple, and teal that we stamped. These are smaller than the butterfly on the outside. So I've arranged or planned where I want them, and now I'm just going to butt them up back to back using the colors that are going to be next to each other. And I'm just going to eyeball it in my scoreboard here and just add a little tab so that they can be adhered to each other. And you don't want that tab to be too big. You want the wingspan to still show up when you open up your card. So now that I've done the pink and the purple together, I've butted up the teal and the pink, and then I'm going to add another score line. Again, just eyeballing it. You just want a tiny little tab where you can add some glue. When I'm done scoring those sides, I'm going to be scoring the butterfly centers. So I'm just lining up those bodies to the score marks and scoring them directly down the middle. That way we can fold all of the butterflies directly in half. I'll remove my scoreboard and then just burnish those score marks to make sure that everything sits nice and flat inside the card later and it's not too bulky. Alright, now to adhere all of these together, remember those flaps that we had scored earlier? We're just going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive to those flaps and adhere them together this way. So I added a little bit of adhesive, pinched them together and held them in place for a few seconds to make sure that it dried before I unfolded them, just to make sure that they don't stick together where you don't want them to stick together. So after I've done that with all 3 butterflies, now I'm going to fold them together like they're an accordion. That way we could stick them in the center of our card. Now that pink butterfly you want to line up with that center score mark of your card. I'm adding liquid adhesive to the one side of that purple butterfly, pulling those butterflies apart so that I know exactly where I want them to sit. And then once that one is secure, I'm going to fold that butterfly back down, the 3 butterflies, and add liquid adhesive to the other butterfly and then close my card over it. This minimizes the bulk on the inside as well as making sure that your card folds flat. So then when you open up your card, you have these 3 butterflies popping out and it's so cool. So I thought I was done with my card once I was done with the inside, but then I felt like the outside needed a few gems and jewels. So I've added a few dewdrops just to give it a little bit more interest on the outside. And that's my card for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for stopping by and have a great day. Bye everyone.